Hi, I'm Fran Tarkington,
And I'm Matthew Tarkington.
and welcome to another coaching session. We hope to make you smarter because we get smarter every day from what we read, what we hear, and we're kind of like Bill O'Reilly. We're looking out for you and trying to find the best thinking, the best ideas to help you be more successful in whatever you're doing, running your small business, starting your small business, trying to figure it out better. You know, Matthew, we're in the time now, right now when we're taping this, of the combine at Indianapolis with the college players that are looking to move into the National Football League, and it's a flawed system because they get them there at the combine and they run them in 40-yard dashes and 10-yard dashes and see how much weight they can lift. They give them a intelligence test of some type. And all these periphery things that really mean little. Because at the end of the day, the teams that play the best have the players who make plays. Seattle, the Super Bowl champion, only had 5 players out of 22 starters that were first and second round draft choices. Their team was made up of free agents and 7th round draft choices and 5th round draft choices, people that were pretty well passed over because they didn't meet the criteria of how big they were, how strong they were, and so forth. And what Seattle does, and all the great teams historically, you want to go and get players that can think, that can solve problems, that can make plays, and you cannot measure that. Now, I'll bring it down. I was a 6-foot quarterback. They drafted me in the 3rd round because I wasn't tall enough, big enough, strong enough. Tom Brady was drafted in the 7th round because they didn't think he was big enough, strong enough, so forth. Little Russell Wilson, 5'11" and a half. I really believe in the last 50 years, the only 2 quarterbacks drafted in the National Football League were Russell Wilson, under 6 feet tall, were Russell Wilson, 5'11" and a half, and also Doug Flutie at 5'7". Then they ran Doug Flutie out of the league, and he became All-Pro in Canada. And how many great smaller quarterbacks who could be great quarterbacks in the National, they passed over because they didn't have this thing. And it's the same thing in business, and Matthew and I have talked about it. And, I got intimidated in school because I wasn't a real good academic student. Other people could learn things faster than I could learn things. And I felt a little intimidated by all that. And it really doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting segue. How does this apply to you, the NFL? And we're going to talk today about a couple of topics, but one is an article, and I'd encourage you to Google this article, How to Get a Job at Google. It was in the New York Times this last week by Thomas Friedman, who writes a lot, well-respected. And it's interesting that 15% of the people, more than 15% of the people at Google now, don't have a college degree. And we'll talk a bit here about what they look for when hiring. But if you feel like, well, maybe you don't have a degree from the best schools, or maybe you don't have a degree at all, or as you're trying to hire somebody, you need to look between the lines, not only find the people. In fact, they say here, just to kick it off, GPAs are worthless as a criteria for hiring.
And what are GPAs?
A grade point average, test scores. Yeah. We obsess about this today as parents with our kids, and even looking back, what colleges did we go to? What do we get on our SATs? They're worthless. We found that they don't predict anything. And they talked about 5 attributes, and we'll talk about them a bit today as we go through this. But one is general cognitive ability, not IQ, but your ability to learn. It's the ability to process on the fly. It's the ability to pull disparate information together, because in today's world, you can go Google anything. You can get a stat in a second on some question you have, but it's how quickly can you assimilate that and process it and then make it actionable. And I know as you're going to talk a bit also about the Navy SEALs and thinking on the fly, and it's a lot more than just what your GPA was, what your SAT scores, even what your IQ is. And we've got people who work around here who are brilliant at social media and internet marketing. And I don't even know where they went to school, where they got their degrees. But if you know what you find those people who can make plays in business like you do in sports.
You know, they talk about the top 1% academics, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to suggest it doesn't make any difference because they may be academically great and can make grades and learn things quicker than the rest of us, but the rest of us fall in the 99% class.
Mm-hmm.
And we should not be intimidated by that because here's Google, maybe the most successful technology company of today.
Yep.
Could get all the smart people they want. And 15% and growing of their population are not college graduates. They are people who get things done, who can think, who can read, who can learn, who can establish relationships, have social skills. And that's the type of people that really make it. They're not the top 1% of the class. The rest of us are in the bottom 99% of the class. So don't be intimidated by that. Now, Matthew was mentioning here, I just finished the book, The Lone Survivor. I've never read anything like this in my life, because the first half of the book is about the training that the Navy SEALs and could be any of our special forces go through. And these are the best trained people that ever have been in the history of warfare. And as I went through this book and saw the dedication and saw what they went through, but here are the fundamentals. The fundamentals of the Navy SEAL is teamwork, loyalty, transparency, truth, trust, humility. And we talk about here every week those same principles in business. Transparency. Be transparent. Tell the truth. Care about your customer. Care about your people. Have a good heart. Reach out. Be a great teammate. Be a great partner. And that's the criteria, the fundamentals of the most advanced fighting force in the history of the world is the same that we talk about here on this program, and it doesn't change in football or sports or work or being a farmer or a carpenter or a business person of any type.
And let me tie it back to Google here. It's interesting to bounce back and forth because the first one was learning ability. The second thing they talk about is emergent leadership, and they talk about not whether you were the class president or you led this club or that club. What they care about is when faced with a problem and you're a member of the team, do you at the appropriate time step in and lead? And just as important, if someone else has got the lead, do you know when to step back? So the ability to work in a team, the ability to be a leader when the time is right. Their next 3 points, 3 and 4, are humility and ownership. Yeah. We heard you talk about humility. If someone's going to take ownership, by that they mean, are they going to own the problem? Are they going to go solve the problem? So again, these are things you can look for in hiring people, things you can try and develop in yourself. Try and be a leader, know how to work as a team, try and take ownership. But humility, which you talked about with the Navy SEALs, and we talk a lot, there are a lot of people who come out of the best and the brightest schools, and I've been to them, and they don't always have the humility to learn because they've always been successful. They've always got the best scores, gone to the best schools. But the people who are the most successful, they're ones who can say, hey, I failed. Why did I fail, and what can I learn with that? And you talk about that a lot. But it's interesting that Google talks about learning ability, emergent leadership, ownership, and humility as 4 of the 5 important hiring tactics.
And you just talked about something very important, Matthew. Failure. Peyton Manning lost the Super Bowl, and he broke all the records this year, every passing record there was, and he loses in the Super Bowl. And I've been there. I lost 3, and it's devastating. But you learn from your failure. You don't let your failure bury you. You let your failure, you go back and say, what can I do better? What can I learn from this? You use it as a teaching and a learning experience, not a defeatist thing. You might be disappointed for an hour or maybe a day, but make that time frame go down because you are going to fail. If you're going to succeed in life, whatever you're doing, you're going to have failure, and you've got to learn from the failure. You don't learn as much from victories as you do from failure, and that's the same whether you're a Navy SEAL, whether you're working at Google, or whether you're going to be successful in the National Football League or a successful carpenter, whatever it might be. Humility, that keeps coming back, Matthew, with all the things that we read and study. And you take these wonderful, heroic young men that go through this training, Special Forces training. They are so sensitive about not being about me, but it's about my teammate. It's about, helping other people. I'll give you a quick story. A friend of mine has had some great success in the last year. And he's gotten so wrought up in that success that it's all about me, me, me. He's spending too much time looking at himself in the mirror and patting himself on the back for what he's done. And And we all run into that trap, don't we? We have some success, we make a lot of money, or we won a football game, or we won a Super Bowl, and we get over, it's all about, it was me. It's never me. It's our teammates. It's the people we work with.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What's interesting, just to close back up here, is Google, the fifth and least important of their hiring attributes is expertise. So they talk about learning ability, leadership, humility, ownership, and the last thing is expertise. Obviously, someone needs to be technically proficient, but we talk about the NFL, who spends all this time measuring how fast people can run, what they can lift, and how they can do the shuttle run, but can they actually play? And what you see when you hire the right people in your own business is people who have that ability to lead, who have the ability to take ownership, to think on the fly, and be humble and take ownership of problems. Those are the intangibles you can't teach but lead to success.
And think about how much fun you have doing that, doing the right thing, helping other people, that you can do it, that you don't have to be in the top 1% of your class. And by the way, you got to play hurt sometimes, because if you notice Matthew right here on the bridge of his nose, he was coaching Little League Baseball last night, and a batted ball.
Sometimes you get punched in the nose, you got to bounce back. So.
And so he's playing hurt today, and sometimes we have to play hurt. These are practical, usable ideas that we give to you, and we hope it helps you. It helps us as we search for these and dig deep into our heart and soul. What creates winning? What creates success? How do we transfer that to our life experiences and our business experiences? And that's what we bring to you every week. And I promise you, we're going to keep on bringing it, and you keep on tuning in, and we will share these great thoughts and ideas with you. Have a great week.